Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EVMC podcast. Join us for this all-access pass backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live event industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to incredible guests who journey with us as we dive deep into the world of venues, tours, festivals, and everything in between. Grab your laminate and meet us in Venueland.
Our adventure today takes us to Escalon, California for the first time, where we're joined by Cassie Gause. She's the co-founder of C&K Media Solutions, a marketing strategist over a decade of experience in the live events industry, from overseeing marketing and sponsorships at multiple public venues in Stockton, California, to now helping promoters, artists, and venues connect with audiences in smarter and more strategic ways. Cassie has a unique perspective shaped by both in the trenches venue work and agency leadership. And what I like about her is that she's a self-described data nerd. Cassie, welcome to Adventures in Venueland.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Have you always been a like a data nerd?
Yeah, I know. I don't know what it is. I always am like, I'm such a nerd. Like I could dive into numbers all day long. A lot of the times it's funny. My business partner, Kendra, I'll be like in a meeting with a client or something and start talking about the data. And I'll go so far in the weeds. Sometimes she's like, Cassie, no one understands what you're saying at this point. Like you need to speak in English. I'm like, oh gosh, sorry.
Well, I am so excited to talk to you because just yesterday I was talking to my GM and he was like, we need to hire somebody who really understands, data. But I'll join myself in, we don't even know what we don't know. Right. We don't even know what we want to do with the data. And so often, it comes, oh, that's interesting data, but is that actionable data? And I'm excited to talk to you about that. But before we get into that, tell me about C&K Media Solutions.
Yeah, so C&K was born out of the pandemic. So I was previously in Stockton, California with ASM Global as the director of sales and marketing out there for 5 venues. And then COVID hit. And I was furloughed for a bit. And then, when everyone realized that it wasn't going away, we were city-owned venues. They decided they wanted everybody off the payroll. And so I was eventually laid off from Stockton. And it's funny, my now business partner was my former general manager for those venues.
Oh, really?
And she had left at some point during the pandemic as well. And so in January of 2021, me and her had just got together to like grab coffee and catch up. Like, what are you doing? And I remember telling her at that point, like, I think I might try and do consulting. Like, I was just wanting to get back into the industry in some way. And like, no one was hired in January of 2021. And she was the GM, but she came up through marketing and she's like, that's funny. I was thinking of doing the same thing. And so I was like, well, should we combine forces? Like maybe we can make this work. And so at that point, we just started calling like all the promoters we had worked with when we were in Stockton. It was just an idea at that point. Like, hey, we were thinking of doing this agency. Could you guys use any help? And we got really, really lucky in which a couple of promoters were like, yeah, can we hire you right now? We need help. We need a marketing department. We're trying to launch an amphitheater series that summer. And so at that point, it was us like, okay, we're doing this. Like, I guess we're doing it. And so then it was like, okay, we need a name. We need a business. Like we don't have any of these things. So it was a scramble at that point. And so March of 2021, C&K was born and we kind of just jumped full force into it. And we've just continued to, add services and change our model as we go because we just, we were kind of winging it at first, to be completely honest. And then, as we've brought on new clients. And so now here we are, we're a team of 5 at this point. And we've been continuing to grow every year. And it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, it wasn't something I ever saw myself doing this side, but now that I've done it, I couldn't imagine not doing it. So it was like a silver lining of COVID for us.
What is your sort of responsibilities within the job, right? So you obviously are partnered with someone else. You're the C of the C&K, but what gets tossed your way? What are you working with some of those other employees on your team? What are your responsibilities typically?
Yeah, so for C&K, we're kind of broken out into almost like three departments. We have a marketing department, sponsorship side, and we have a management side. So I oversee the marketing side. So I oversee our staff in our marketing department. So we do traditional advertising, we do public relations, digital advertising is a huge part of that, and then social media management. So I oversee all of our staff over there. I take on that full speed. Like I said, I'm a data nerd. So our team is creating all kinds of campaigns, and I'm the one kind of going in and being a little bit more strategic with it, helping them make changes. I'm working with clients and putting proposals together. And then Kendra oversees our sponsorships and management side, in which I dip into those with her and help her out because I do have the background with sponsorships and stuff. And so on that side, Kendra's doing high level client relations and strategy with clients. And we are also on the sponsorship side. We're building sponsorship programs with venues and other clients who are interested in just kind of blowing it up and thinking about it a little differently. But we're also working with clients who are buying sponsorships with venues, and we're helping them manage those across the country, and making sure those are staying organized. So yeah, so I'm kind of, my main side is the marketing side, but I dip my toes in the other. I also do all of our accounting. Like I said, data nerd. I do all of our accounting and numbers. So yeah, so that takes up a bit of my time as well.
Let's talk about C&K as a whole. And I know there's a lot of stuff that, our industry, secrets or things that you definitely can't reveal. But tell me, like, what are you working on, in general? Are you mostly working with venues? Are you working with promoters? Are you contract on short-term projects? Are you a marketing department for places that don't have marketing department? Help me understand what you guys are kind of doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, literally all of the above. So one of the things that when we started this agency, that was like when I told Kendra, like when we started this agency, I don't want red tape. I was in a venue where I couldn't ever get any help because everyone wanted me to sign a contract or have a minimum spend. And we were a small venue. I could not commit to a long-term spend. Like it was not possible. So when we started the agency, my big thing was like, no red tape. I don't want minimum spends. I won't work with anyone with any budget. Like I want to be able to help a venue because that was where I was at. So we work with the gamut, right? So we work with a lot of venues, and when it comes to venues, a lot of the times it's just one-off campaigns, which is totally cool, right? And it's a lot of digital. So it's everyone coming to me because they have a show that's going on sale, and it's usually like, it's going on sale tomorrow. Here's my budget. And we're like, all right, let's go. We're rolling with it. And so it's us placing all their digital advertising for them, whether that's on social or TikTok, or it's on OTT or connected TVs or display and audio. So we do a lot of that with venues where it's just kind of more one-off, where we work with promoters where we're more of their marketing department. We're doing full-blown traditional advertising, digital. Sometimes it's just one-off digital, or it's digital for the full tour. We've done full legs of tours for digital. And then we also work within the service side of the entertainment industry as well. So we have clients that are the service providers. So we work with Pritchard Sports Entertainment. A lot of probably venues have them cleaning their buildings, right? They're in their buildings. So we work with them, high-level client relations, or manage their sponsorships in every venue across the country. So we literally hit every aspect. We also work with artists. We manage social media pages for artists. So we're doing their daily posting. So we kind of hit all angles.
Are you not doing all their own posts?
They're not wanting to handle those messages. You know how many they get every day? Like
That sounds like a lot. Is there a challenge, to be frank, where like have you all hit some of those walls where I'm sure there was a time, right, where it was just the two of you all and you're like, oh my gosh, the need is outweighing what we can provide. And then you're making that really probably very important decision at the time, like we're going to bring in another person here. It was just the two of us. And then I'm sure going from 3 to 5 is less dramatic as 2 to 3, but what is that like? It's got to be really tricky because you probably want to take on all clients and all business, but then you're weighing out, okay, this is a one-off and maybe it's just one, but maybe it requires a whole lot of hand holding, but then this one's a whole tour and maybe we're less involved. It's got to be a lot of case by case, I'm imagining.
Yeah, that's honestly, it's probably one of the hardest parts of the agency side is like, it's so up, you guys know the entertainment, it's so up and down. Like we could get so busy because everybody's putting everything on sale and then it just boop
Yep.
drops,
Yep.
right? And so when we went from just Kendra and I, and we were getting busier and busier, and it was just getting to the point of like, can I provide the quality of service that our clients deserve, right? Because
Sure.
there's only
Yeah.
one of me and one of Kendra. We could only do so much in a day. We were working a lot when the business started. I mean, there
Sure.
was no such thing as weekend for us then because it was just, you just had to get it done. And so when we finally made the decision to hire our first employee, which was actually my marketing coordinator from when I was at Stockton Arena, she had reached out to us. She was doing a little side work for us, like on weekends and stuff. She was helping me. I was throwing her some hours and stuff on weekends. And then she had came to us like, hey, would you want to hire full time? And it was the hardest decision we ever made because Kendra and I were just like, it's scary when you own your business. All of a sudden now you're responsible for making
Yeah.
that payroll, right?
And it's one thing to be responsible for yourself and another thing to be
Right?
responsible for someone else.
I can eat as much ramen as I need to, but make somebody else do it, I feel bad.
Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly. I can cut my check if I can't. I can only be mad at myself, right? But I can't do that to an employee.
Right.
But we knew at that point, like, we were getting busier. If we stand any chance at growing, like, we have to just take the leap of faith that, we have to do this. So we hired Alex as our first hire. And honestly, I feel like that was when things really turned for us. I felt like we got 10 times busier at that point because I felt like it's like we find like the universe knew we were opening ourselves up. We had the time. It was the craziest thing. And we were able to bring on a lot more clients and a lot more came through. And then, so then it just got to the
Say,
point.
then as soon as you open that valve, you're like,
Yes!
whoa, now we need 4, 5, 6, 20 people, 50 people. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And so then it's always like a balance too, right? Because you kind of hit it with the hand holding side too, is you have some clients, that you're just turning their campaign. They have full trust in you. You're turning their campaigns on. You're making adjustments as you go and you're just rolling. You're shooting them dashboards and they're good. They're awesome. It's so easy turnkey. But we have other clients and there's some promoters out there that just, they are never 100% confident. They're questioning everything. And so you end up having a lot of calls with them and you spend a lot of time with them. So it's just this balance of, you got to make sure things are running in the background while like you're on a call multiple times throughout the day with your clients. So it just becomes a balancing game at that point. So then, so when we finally made it's funny, we were actually hiring to add our fourth person and doing interviews, and what we had narrowed down to 2 people and we loved them both so much. And one of them, Kaylee, who's on our team now, fresh out of college, and we both, it's so funny, Kendra and I both were like, oh my God, we love her. She's so nice. Like, we want her on our team. And so we actually made the point right then and there, like, can we do 5 people on our team? Like, can we bring her on? And so that was like a spur of the moment bring on that brought us up to 5. We ended up we were hiring for 1, ended up hiring 2, and best decision we ever made because she's amazing. I'm so glad we went with our instincts. But yeah, it's just funny. That's where it was kind of nice that it was just us. We own the company because it's like, okay, want to do it? Like, there's no like going to corporate and getting a right. Like, we had a good vibe, we had a good feeling, and kind of went for it, which was fun.
I'm sure too, there's this natural thing where when you take on a new client, they're probably feeling you out, right? Just as you're feeling them out. So as you're mentioning, they're kind of like, I need you to walk me through this. I want to make sure I have your attention. So they're probably over scheduling calls just so that they make sure they're getting the value out of you. And then probably like, now you all have been around for 4 years, right? Which has got to be really crazy. But I'm sure you've seen clients go from needing that to then trusting you all more and more and more of like, okay, you all just do it. We know what you're going to do, and hopefully that transitions a bit over time.
Yeah, that's like I always tell our staff, like when, we have a new client that comes on, like the more information you can feed them, the better. Because like everybody's building trust at this point. And so we want to be like as transparent. Like we try to be as transparent as possible all the time, but even more so in the beginning of like, this is what we're doing. This is who we're targeting. Like, whereas like as that relationship moves on, they don't care who we're targeting. They trust they don't want to see the full list, but they get it, But when we're starting, it's like, hey, FYI, this is our game plan. This is what we're doing. So it's just, yeah, it takes a little bit extra time to do that.
What trends are you seeing right now? That is there something that's really you're seeing that's moving the needle that's exciting for you?
What's fun is I feel like, obviously digital is crazy right now, and everybody is, I feel like, finally jumping on full board in the digital world, where I feel like coming out of COVID, at least on our end, we still had some venues and promoters that were still really big on doing radio and everything, which I still think there's a place for that. But what the trends we're seeing now is everybody's really, I feel like, going full steam on digital. We've gone from people coming to us saying, okay, I only want OTT, or I only want Meta and IG or whatever, to now it seems like everybody's like, I want TikTok, I want Reddit, I want YouTube, I want, and I love it. Like, I feel like there's more of a trend of people actually seeing the ROI now. And so it's been a lot of fun to see, especially venues. I feel like the venues are sometimes a little more hesitant with their dollars, and sometimes it's easier. I know on the venue side, sometimes you can only spend your money where maybe the promoter is going to allow you to spend your money or whatever. So it's been really cool to see venues being able to get a little bit more creative with their ad spends. And we've been able to put some really cool campaigns together, and been playing a lot with TikTok and Reddit lately, which has been a lot of fun, and been seeing really great ROI. So it's been kind of fun to really hit some of those like niche markets, and it's been cool. Like, I know we did a campaign with, was it like the Avatar movie, one. And so we were able, like, we hit some Reddit channels pretty hard on that one, and saw some really great ROI. So it's just like a lot of fun to see some of these things that people weren't doing a couple years ago, and now they're going full steam on.
When you talk about, ROI and, and measuring this, it's something that a lot of us don't do well, right? Because we don't have, we're so busy moving forward that we don't take the time to look back and see what did work. And so talk to me a little bit about how you kind of differentiate between, oh, that's really interesting, and, oh, that's something I can do something with.
Dave is telling you to go deep in the weeds right now. So like, we're going to feed you like a little air hose, and you just you deep dive.
Yeah. So it's so funny that you say that, because for me, I'm always trying to make sure people are setting up like pixels and container tags and all these data points, so that we can make sure that we are tracking that ROI. We're able to retarget people. We're able to hit people a million times. And a lot of times I hit a lot of roadblocks with that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
With getting people, I'll send them what they need. I even have a full instruction book on how to set it up in TM1. I will walk you through it. But a lot of times, like, maybe it's not the marketing department that's doing it, it's the box office that's setting it up. Maybe the marketing department doesn't have access to that side. Everybody has different permissions at every single place we go to. And so sometimes it gets done, sometimes it doesn't. So ROI completely changes for every single campaign based on what we're able to implement. So for us, like, obviously, I'm going to push a pixel as much as I can. I'm going to set it up on all your programmatic advertising. I'm going to set it up on all your social media advertising, so that we could hopefully track to conversion. That's the ultimate goal for me, is I want to track it to conversion. Knowing that pixels aren't 100% perfect, right? Pixels fall off. They're not, like, people are transitioning between desktops and apps, and, they're shuffling around. So pixels aren't perfect. And I do acknowledge that with every, client that we have, but it gives you a picture. Like, if you are seeing conversions coming in, you're on the right track with who you're targeting, right? So that's always like my number one thing. On top of that, we do implement a lot of container tags on websites. So this allows us to, anyone who's dropping into your website, we're able to grab their IP address and re-hit them on every single other device that they have. So for us, it's all about the entertainment industry. On average, it takes around 7 to 8 times of seeing something before they purchase, whereas like more consumer driven side, it's like 3-4, right? So it takes a little bit more on our side, on the concert side. People need to see it more. So for me, it's just about taking that data that you're able to collect on IP addresses through the pixel, and then seeing how much we can track. Now, when it comes to ROI, like I said, like, a lot of times I'm not able to track to conversion. So what is the ROI? That's where we have a lot of strategy in I just did this with a client, right? We went on sale and sales are just not where they want it to be. They're hoping for like 3,000 in sales and they told us we were at 300. Not a great on sale, right? But when I dove into the numbers, the ads were actually performing really well. Our click-through rate was through the roof. We had so many people getting to the ticketing page where I was like, okay, we have 20,000 people that went to that ticketing page.
Right. There's interest there.
And they only 300 converted, right? We didn't have a pixel, so we don't know how many.
No, it's probably a pricing issue.
Right.
So it's always you get into
real tight.
Exactly. So and everybody, and you guys know this, when something's not selling well, the first people that get turned to are the marketers. Like, what are you doing wrong? You're not marketing it right, right?
Exactly.
And so it's always just taking that, like, okay.
There's no bad bookings, Cassie. There's only bad marketing.
Right?
That's what we've been
Like,
told.
hey, we've got 20,000 people. Like, maybe this is price resistance. Maybe this is a last minute buying crowd, right? Like, there's a lot more things to consider here. So I feel like the ROI on things, you have to like it. I feel like that scale for me, a lot of the ROI, like I'll look at ROI in terms of like a click-through rate, what your click-through rate is, because our job as marketers is to get people to the ticketing page. I can't force someone to buy a ticket. I can't, but I can get them to a ticketing page. So a lot of times with ROI, I'm looking at that click-through rate more than anything, because that's proof that you're hitting the right people. They're not clicking if they're not interested in your show. And your click-through rate percentage, that's going to vary based on the platform you're using. If you're doing programmatic, people will sometimes be like, that's not a good click-through rate. But I'm like, average click-through rate for a connected TV or OTT or display is literally 0.08 to 0.1%. It's very, very small because you're hitting such a wide net of people. So our goal is always a 0.2% or higher. So we a lot of times will have clients hitting a 0.4, 0.5. Great. I'm great. I'm fantastic. This is doing so well. But you compare that to a click-through rate on like Meta, which now you're hitting several higher percentage points. People are like, wait, programmatic's not working. I'm like, no, it is. I swear. Literally every campaign has a different goal.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's neat to hear you talk about some of the stuff you're doing, but I'm curious, how do you tailor, different strategies for different types of events? I mean, everything's not the same. And so when you are not, you're not maybe not the local expert, or you're not the expert on this product, how do you as a company manage that?
Yeah, so I ask a ton of questions. So I do lean on the venues. I lean on the promoter to feed me as much info as I can, not only about the market that we're going into, but also about the event itself, past ticket sales, past, all the past data that I could get so that we can put a strategic campaign together. And so like for us, for example, we had someone doing an event, the exact same event in California on the West Coast, the exact same event they did on the East Coast. We were doing both of those. So it was interesting. We put them on sale. Everybody was like wanting very similar marketing tactics on them. And so that's what we did, because that's what everybody's really pushing. We want it to be the same. We want it to be the same. And so that's what we did. West Coast almost sold out. East Coast hardly sold the ticket, right? So I'm like, East Coast demo is not the California demo. These are completely different demos. Right. So we had to completely commit, like, no, we got to flip this, because this market might be the same show. The audience is not the same, like not even close to being the same. So we have to flip it. So for us, it's just understanding that and being able to pivot. That's one thing for us, is like, we don't set it and forget it. We're not like that. I'll acknowledge if my targeting was not great, right? But we're going to go back in and we're going to change it, because within a couple days whether your targeting was good or not. So, but for us, it's just in advance. We're digging in. We're asking the venues many questions about their location, how big of a radius, especially if it's a market we've never been to before, like radiuses are interesting, other venues that are nearby. So sometimes maybe you have to keep your radius a little smaller. We had an artist that was doing a European tour, and so we were doing some ads out there, and their next tour stop was 30 miles away, because everything is so close over there. So it's like we had to completely flip how we were thinking of our targeting, right? Because
you're competing with yourself.
You're competing with yourself. Yeah. And so it's really, really interesting. So that changes everywhere we go.
What are most venues doing wrong? When you see, because I know you see it all the time, right?
The look on your face when he said that, I know that won't come through in an audio interview, but you had this like smoldering eyes kind of.
Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we can do better.
I love venue people, and I know the obstacles that all the venues are going through, right? Everybody has their own obstacles and stuff, but I feel like venues aren't diving into their own data, to be completely honest with you. They're not optimizing their data to best serve them. I see a lot of people with websites that they don't even have access to the back end to, or they're not able to place a container tag, or they're not able to collect anything, or they're a Ticketmaster venue, but yet they're not actually looking at TM1 data. So for me, it's like, when I'm talking to a venue, it's, how much information can you give me? And I see a lot of venues not being able to give me that information, or they're not in tune to their community. So for us, yeah, we may be helping you doing your paid advertising, but a lot of times we like to take in the full scope of what is going into that campaign so that we can understand, even on the organic side, where the pushes are coming from the venue, so we can maybe complement it, especially mid-campaign stuff. And so sometimes I'm asking venues like, hey, are you working with their CVB, or what are you doing with the chamber? What's going on? Do you have a street team going on? And a lot of times it's like, oh, I don't even have a contact with my CVB. And I'm like, how,
What? Yeah.
how is this even possible? So I feel like, it's just, and then you have other venues that are freaking awesome that do all of these things. So,
Right.
but I feel like the main thing with venues is, they just don't, I don't know if it's just them not being able to access some of the data out there, not, or they're
Just not
not.
enough hours in a day, and they're a small
Yeah.
team, and they're struggling just to get the job done today.
Sometimes too,
Exactly. And
it
I can't
feels
blame
like a
them.
mountain, right? Like I'm sure people I hear people talk about the same thing with like AI, right? It's like if they feel like they can't baby step into it, they've got to dive fully in, and then they're like, when do I have the time? But like,
Exactly.
is there something you recommend to kind of baby step into data? Is there some way that you can chip away at that iceberg, or maybe realizing it's not an iceberg? You don't have to attack it all at once. You don't have to be an expert from the get-go, but like, is there that kind of first touch point that you tell people, like, start looking at this one little thing and tracking that across
Yeah.
your shows?
So for me, so this was my baby step into it, I guess, when I was in the venue. So we were Ticketmaster venue. So for me, I didn't totally understand everything that I was seeing, but every single morning I would get on, and I would get onto TM1, and I would look at, the sales trends. I would look at GPT visits. I would look at conversion. Like, I would just go through, like, did we see any spikes last night? Like, what's going on with these shows? I would compare that to what I know what was running, so I could maybe try and start seeing some correlations. Like, hey, I had only radio running this week and I noticed no spike. Boom. That's a data point for you, right? That's something to note, to point out to your promoter. That's the most simplest thing, right? Is just noting that you didn't sell any tickets and you had advertising going. That's probably like the most basic thing you could do. And I would start doing those things every morning. I would look at that. I would look at social media and see what was going on in social media. And those are just like my first entryway into data. And I'm just trying to understand sales patterns. From there, I transitioned into understanding who's coming to my website, right? And
Right.
how capture those people's data so that I can then hit them again. So I just feel like, it doesn't take a lot to just look at the full picture. And I feel like sometimes it's just hard to, because we are all so busy, and you get in and the fire alarm's ringing and everybody's calling you, and you have a show that now wants to announce tomorrow. So you got to jump into Photoshop, and now you got to do this. Like, I get it. But taking 10 minutes every single morning, just to kind of see what happened overnight and compare that to what you're doing, I feel like goes a long way.
When you look at the data, and you're trying to feel what's going right and what's not working, what are you seeing as far as social goes? Are you seeing that Facebook is still the powerhouse? Are you still seeing a lot of better ROI? I know it's fun, and you can get some interesting ROI from Reddit or those kind of things, but are we done with Facebook? Are we still as Meta? I know a lot of people moved away from X or Twitter and spending dollars there. So what are you seeing that's working right now, and what are you seeing that's not working?
Yeah, I will say Meta and Instagram are still number one to me. They are,
Yeah.
if someone has limited budget, that's where I'm putting them. Because we still see the best ROI, the best engagement off of those ads. I know like personally, like, right, I don't really get on Facebook, right? But like Facebook ads convert. So
Yeah,
people are
I see
out
that too.
there on
I see that
Facebook,
Oh
too.
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So those are, Facebook, Instagram, those are number one, right? I always tell people, it's just all about the full funnel strategy, right? Like and it's gonna depend on budget, but Facebook and Instagram are gonna be my number one. Depending on the demographic, how young, how old your consumer is, I'm probably gonna throw a TikTok in there. And I always tell people, you're not placing an ad on TikTok to see a bajillion clicks because you're not gonna get them. People are gonna see your ad for a half a second before they're scrolling on again. But when combined with the full funnel, we see when TikTok is added in, you do see overall greater awareness for your event. So we do like adding TikTok in. And then, yeah, what I really love to add in for everybody, especially in the event space, is the programmatic world and YouTube. I really like to make sure we got pre-roll going, especially on YouTube, and then additionally on even more OTT platforms by hitting them in apps and desktops as well. I feel like the event space video ads just do 10 times better. People need to hear that artist singing or they need to see what that event is. And then probably like my, bottom suggestion, if people, if they have budget, I'm adding it. If they don't have budget, it's my first cut, would be like display ads and audio ad, like Spotify and stuff. It just depends on who it is, but I just don't see the greatest ROI, but I like them. I know that they fit into the funnel, but if you have low budget, I'm probably going to cut them. So everything has its place. But at the end of the day, email and social media sell. Email
Yeah.
sells, social media
Yeah.
sell.
Are you seeing that like when you mention like OTT and you mentioned some of those pre-rolls, as that industry has changed overall, like right there you go from like a Disney Plus that didn't have any advertising to now having an ad version, and similar with like Hulu and ESPN Plus and so many of these other platforms now have ad versions to get a little more revenue. Is that making it all the more attractive for you all with advertising? Whereas in the past maybe there were such limited selections of YouTube and some others, and now it feels like almost every streamer has an ad version, and so it feels like there's way more options out there, way more exposure than there was previously even a year ago.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little conflicted in how I feel about it, to be honest, and it's mainly because everybody has their own, ad platform. It's not
Yeah,
all in one place
I
anymore.
know. Yeah,
And so when people tell me I want to do OTT, I'm like, let's really zone in on what you want, because if you want, the Disney Hulu platforms, I have to do that separately. I cannot
right.
do that plus pair it in with Paramount and Peacock and everybody else over here that I could do in one, right? They're different
Yeah.
campaigns. You have to have two different budgets. So for me, like the video world gets a little messy, and that's where sometimes it's hard with budgets that events have because it just doesn't work. So that's where you just really have to hone in on who it is you're wanting to hit, because you could really, on the video side, you could really box yourself in. And now you're literally only on two apps instead of over here, you could have been on 50, 60, right?
Right.
So it's a balancing game. Every single app has different creative requirements, and it's just, yeah, it's a headache, to be completely honest,
Yeah, I would
but it
imagine.
works, but it's just a balancing game for everybody.
What part of your work do you find the most creatively fulfilling for you on a personal level?
I honestly I love building out a campaign. I love coming up with the targeting. I love having a call with the venue or the promoter and like asking all the questions and figuring out who we're going after and then building that audience.
It's your analytical mind. It's
Yeah,
back to the data.
exactly. Like I just want to like get those
Yeah.
wheels a turning, and that was always people would always ask me like, like what's your favorite part of working in the event industry? I'm like, every day is different. Like every campaign is like requires a different way of thinking about it. And
Yeah.
my favorite part.
Tell me a little bit about your history. You kind of a lot of your experience is working for those five venues in Stockton. So tell me about what that experience taught you that you still use today.
Yeah. So kind of interesting actually. So I started as an intern there in Stockton. So I needed a full-time internship for my bachelor's degree in sports administration. And so I got hired as a marketing intern at Stockton Arena. And
Which is home of Stockton Kings, right? Isn't that
yes,
the G
yeah,
League team for Sacramento Kings?
yeah. And when I was there, we also had a hockey team, which isn't there anymore, which was affiliated with the Calgary Flames. So, yeah. And the whole reason I picked Stockton to do my internship and kept my fingers crossed I got it was because it brought me home and I could live for free and do this internship.
Oh yeah.
And 2 months into doing that internship, the marketing coordinator that I was working under put in her 2 week notice. And so she told me, she's like, apply for the job. And I was like, okay. And so I applied. And then, like, the full 2 weeks before she left, she just like taught me everything, right? Like, I was on every promoter call with her. I would sit and watch her email. Like, I was just like a sponge, like soaking it all in.
Yeah.
I got lucky and got the job as the marketing coordinator. So I started as a marketing coordinator.
That's not luck. That's preparation.
Right. I know. I was
Don't
ready.
sell yourself short.
And so it was like good timing, right? And so I got hired on full time before my internship was up, before I even graduated, which I was just so excited about. So I started there as a coordinator and worked my way up from there. I was a coordinator, I moved, and then I was the marketing manager, I was the senior manager, and eventually director of sales and marketing there. And it's funny actually, because I remember going to, like, at the time it was SMG, like SMG conferences or SMG regional calls or whatever. And I would hear what like other venues were doing. And I remember always thinking like, man, is it normal to do this much? Because we did a lot in Stockton. Like we had 5 venues, and we had arena, we had a Fox Theater, we had a ballpark, and our market department was busy when we were really, really small. There was only 2 of us in it. And we did full placement for everybody, full media buying for everybody. And we did a head to toe, did so much. And I remember being on call sometimes like, man, it seems like it's easier to work somewhere else because I feel like we do a lot for some reason. And I remember at the same time, I would be so jealous of other venues because they were getting like the A-list shows. We didn't get that in our venue. We were a small venue. And I remember being so jealous. But then it's funny, as I worked my way through Stockton, I'm so grateful for that job looking back at it now, because I learned every facet of that venue, right? I learned about ticketing. I learned about operations. I learned about booking. We were small. We didn't have a big staff out there in Stockton. So everybody just kind of intermingled. Everybody helped everybody. And I learned so much that, like, I don't think I'd probably be where I was right now within the agency and have the experience that I have if it wasn't for being in a small venue. So, yeah, I'm just grateful. I remember I was a guest lecturer during COVID at Fresno State, and one of the students was just like, I want to get an internship, and I'm trying Levi Stadium or I'm trying Chase Center. And I remember just telling them, like, you don't have to think big, like try big, great. But like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of small venues out there that could really use your help, and you'd have a really great chance of getting in and getting some fantastic experience. Like, the big shiny thing is fantastic, but there's so many great things happening at theaters
Absolutely.
and small arenas. And it's just something that I look back on and I'm so grateful for that. That was the stepping stone of my career, because I
You
just
get your
thought,
hands so much dirty in so much more different areas when
yeah,
sometimes they don't have the staff to do other things, and you can.
And it feels like too, like when you are coming from someone who also worked at multiple venues with not a huge department, you basically are the agency. You're like the in-house agency at that point. So it makes so much sense that, it would set you up for what you're doing now, because you kind of are used to having all these different bosses and all these different people that need different things. Every venue is going to be different and what it needs from you. And some of them need more hand holding than others, and they all get jealous against the others, so I'm sure it like provided such valuable experience.
oh, 100%. I remember in my first month of starting in Stockton, I was like teaching myself how to do Photoshop on YouTube. Like,
Yeah,
because I'm like,
I did the same thing. Yeah.
like, here's an ad, Matt. Go get this show on sale. And I remember I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do.
How do I install a font?
Yeah, exactly.
Cassie, we've talked a lot about, your work, and I always like to, learn a little bit about who our guests are when they're away from the job. But when you're a co-founder there's, and you want to take a vacation, take some time off. It can be hard, right? Because you feel like it's always kind of there on your shoulders. So talking about how you find that balance and then, what do you do when you like to get a little time away from the office?
Yeah. Yeah, I will say at the beginning it was really hard to find that balance. I don't think there was a balance. But I'm really, really lucky now that I feel like I do have a good balance. So I work from home, but I made sure I set up a dedicated office space so I can shut that door at the end of the night. Obviously, people still have my cell if they
Or
call.
slam the door if you need to.
Yeah, exactly. But I just really prioritize my time. So I'm really big on, making sure I get in my walks every day, making sure I work out every day. My husband's a farmer and we have two dogs. So for me, sometimes it's
You guys
just
live on a farm?
we actually live in town, but the farm's only like 5 minutes away. So we just
Okay.
drive there, yeah. So I'm always helping him, right? So I'll go out there and I get to be like the assistant. And honestly, like sometimes those days I'm just like, it's so nice to like just be outside and like fresh
Yeah.
air and the manual labor does everyone a little good,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my gosh. The manual labor sometimes helps like unclog your brain of the numbers. It's like
Right?
you just need to
Yeah.
do things, even when you're in like an office. Sometimes it's like, all right, give me those notebooks we've got to stamp or whatever it is. It's like you need to almost just like somehow flush everything that's in your brain.
Yeah, because you get so stuck in your own head and so yeah, so I'm really lucky that I have like a husband that really pulls me out of it. He notices the signals when I'm getting a little burnt out. So he'll drag me out of my office. So I'm really lucky for that. But we're very much like outdoorsy people. We go camping on the weekends and I ride motorcycles, so we'll take off on our motorcycles and go golfing. We golf as well. So I don't know. I'm just such an active person that honestly, for me, like sitting in front of a desk for 8 hours a day is actually really hard for me to do. It's funny when we were getting ready to get on this podcast, I almost for a split second did it at my standing desk walking, but then I'm like, ooh, there's going to be too much noise because it's hard for me
You
to
would have been
stay.
the first one.
I almost did it. But then I was like, that's gonna be way too noisy with me like clumping down the thing. So yeah, so for me it's just a balance, right? Like a lot of the times my team will know like, okay, I'm in for a couple hours getting stuff done, and then I'm like, hey, I'm out for a walk. Like I'm gone for 30 minutes and then I'm back. We just kind of have a culture at C&K, like take a break when you need it, go out for a walk. Like everybody works from home, like nobody needs to sit for 8 hours straight. That's just not a thing. I know like I was just on vacation last week and I took a meeting while I was on vacation, but like other than that, it was just a couple check-ins, but nothing too crazy. I do my best to separate as much as I can because I know I can only be my best self if I actually fill up my own cup. So it's something that's taken me a lot of time to learn because when I first started in the industry, when we first started C&K, there was just no me time and definitely felt the effects of that.
Yeah.
How'd you meet your husband?
We actually met at a lake. We had some mutual friends, and he showed up there with his boat, and it was gone from there, right? So yeah, so we've been together going on 13 years, right? I know.
13 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
tell us about your dogs. What are their names and what kind of dogs you have?
Yeah, we got Charlie and Indy. They're sisters. They're border collie McNabb mixes. So we
Good
went to
farm
get
dogs.
farm dogs. Yep, they're little cow dogs. We went for one, came home with two. So um,
Kind of like when you get an extra employee.
exactly, it's like a theme around here. So we got them when they were puppies and they were wild. We at one point we were like, why did we do this? But now I'm so grateful we have both of them. They're so much fun and they're very high strung dogs because they are cattle dogs. So they have to be ran like every single day. So they usually if I'm having a slow morning, I have them like bugging me, like we haven't gone for our morning walk. Like they know my routine, like they know what we do. So they keep me
It's
on my
good though.
toes.
They can hold you accountable and pull you out there. That's great.
Oh, that's great. Guys, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Before I let you go, I want to hit you with our fast five. It's five quick questions, just looking for your short, instant response. First up, do you remember your very first concert?
Kenny Chesney,
Do you have a favorite concert?
Garth Brooks.
What's your favorite chore to do on the farm?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a tough one. I guess irrigating would probably be my favorite because you're actually out there starting water.
What app do you spend too much time on your phone? What's your biggest time waster? The black hole you get sucked into.
Instagram, 100% Instagram. Yeah.
The last question, what's your theme song? So TV cameras follow you around and film all your adventures. What's the song that plays over the opening credits to the Cassie show?
Oh my gosh. Um, probably the song Lovely Day. I'm blanking on the artist right
Well,
now.
Bill Withers?
Bill Withers,
Lovely
yes.
day. Lovely day.
Lovely day. Lovely day. Yeah, I'm always trying to find that positive spin to everything. So that's always going on in my head. I love that song.
Love that. Love that. Cassie, if somebody wants to learn more about, what you do or reach out with questions or just, follow up with you on what it's like to, jump out there and start your own thing. What's the best place to reach you, plug the business, anything you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the easiest probably just go to the business's website, ckmediasolution.com. Everything on there will come directly to me if you reach out. And then, or Instagram, we have CK Media Solution, or my personal is just my first and last name, I believe. Yeah. So you guys should be good to go. Yeah. Reach out. I'm happy to help anybody.
Just that easy. Hey, it's great talking to you. I obviously we've we had a chance to chat before and through EVMC but very exciting to get to learn more about what you do and you're very, very inspirational. Great stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
And a big thanks to everybody for listening to this episode of Adventures in Venueland. Remember, you can subscribe and find more episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We do love your 5-star reviews because it helps others find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Venue Marketing Conference, a marketing conference that brings together diversified event and venue professionals to cultivate education, collaboration, and innovation for the growing sports and live entertainment industry. Find out more at eventvenuemarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.